Hi again, everyone, and welcome to Charger 360, telling the stories of the University of New Haven. I'm J.W. Stewart, joined as always by Bruce Barber. And normally, this is when we would introduce our guest, but we're doing something different today here on Charger 360. This is J.W. and Bruce, Unscripted.
Wow.
What could possibly go wrong?
Buckle up.
So we figured we'd do a season 2 wrap-up show and kind of talk about our backgrounds and maybe also look ahead to season 3 as well as a look back to season 2. So, Bruce, we always ask our guests, like their background, where they're from, how they got there. So I think it's important that you and I tell those stories. So I'll ask you, for the benefit of our viewers who may not know who you are, maybe not tuned in to Charger 360, give us a rundown of where you're from and how you ended up here at the University of New Haven.
Wow, yeah.
This might take all 15 minutes,
Yeah, exactly.
by the way.
Okay, clear the deck. No, so it's interesting. I tell people that I have had one of the most interesting, bizarre careers in media because I started... So I went to Hobart College, little school in upstate New York, and started my career in college radio, WEOS FM, the Echoes of the Seneca.
I got it, EOS.
Yep, there you go. And we'll have to get to your alma mater, Marist, soon.
Yep.
But and so I just fell in love with it. And after college, I moved home to Buffalo, New York, and said, well, this is going to be the one time in my life I could maybe take a shot at this. So I took an internship at a station in Buffalo and worked my way up to the morning show. Mm-hmm. And one morning, they came in after the show and said, everybody to the conference room, and they fired the whole station and changed the format. So somebody had been driving through New Haven, or had been driving through Buffalo and was programming WPLR in New Haven, and heard the show that I was doing and decided to bring me to New Haven to work with Brian Smith. And we formed a show called Smith and Barber, the morning show on WPLR. So, and how shall I put this? We were shock jocks. This was really when radio was, people were influenced by what Howard Stern was doing and Don Imus. And this was a time when FM radios were becoming standard equipment in cars. So it was we had a captive audience every morning. And it turned into 18 years of being kind of a very successful morning show in Connecticut. And then I reached a point where I got married. I had 2 instant kids, 2 stepdaughters, and then we had 2 of our own, and I wasn't feeling so much like a shock jock anymore. So I formed my own production company, Barber Productions, and started working for Connecticut Public Radio as an independent producer. And so that was kind of the second phase of this bizarre career. I went from shock jock to public radio. And then I tell people the favorite part of my career is this right now. 8 years ago, I came here to the University of New Haven to be the general manager of 88.7 WNHU and to work with our really incredible students. And I tell people this is my favorite part of my career right here.
It's a dream to be here. I agree with you as well. To be around the students is phenomenal. I think that's the one question we often get about, what's the best part about working at the University of New Haven? I always say the people. That's everybody. That's the students especially, because that's who we're here for. And then it's certainly, the faculty and the staff and everyone we interact with. We've said this a couple of times on the show this season, last season, even going back to when Dr. Z and I hosted it, but the family feel here at the University of New Haven, it's real, right? I mean, that's not just something we throw out there. Students who come through here and speak to you guys who are watching say the same thing.
No, that's right. As a matter of fact, just recently, our dean, Shaylee Menon, held a gathering of the College of Arts and Sciences, and it was great. Our new president, Dr. Jens Fredrickson, was able to attend, and we had some great back and forth. And you're exactly right. And it was nice. And then we had a nice social time afterwards. And I realized the faculty here is just amazing, but we don't get a chance to hear their stories. So, which is the perfect segue into let's hear your story, your backstory, and how you ended up here at the University of New Haven.
Yeah, well, like yours, it's not a straight line, right? I mean, I could never have imagined it, at least not at this part of my career. So I grew up in Middletown, Rhode Island, which is right next to Newport, and then went to school at Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York, where I did my undergraduate work. When I graduated in 1993, I started working in newspapers. At the time, newspapers actually paid more than television. which nowadays is not the case at all. So I couldn't get a full-time TV gig, so I got into newspapers, worked there for 4 years, then finally got into television, regional television in New York, worked there for 2 years, and then got the big break, went to ESPN. I was there for 12 years as an anchor and did everything: SportsCenter, Baseball Tonight, ESPN News, NBA Fast Break, college basketball scoreboard, college football. You do everything when you're there that long for 12 years like I was. And then, all good things must come to an end, and not everyone has an opportunity to be there for 40 years like a Chris Berman or a Bob Lee, for instance. So I was fortunate enough to land at the NBC affiliate here in Connecticut, NBC Connecticut up in West Hartford. I did that for 4 years on a freelance basis, and worked in radio actually for a little bit too. When I was at Marist, I dabbled in radio. At our call letters at Marist, MCR, Marist College Radio, but I did more TV at Marist, MCTV, and our student newspaper, The Circle. So I fortunately had experience in all three mediums, but I never worked in radio until much later in my career, which was kind of strange. Usually you would start out in radio and maybe work your way up to television, at least at one point in time in this industry. But for me, I did a couple of years in radio up in Hartford. And then the opportunity came along here at the University of New Haven. Diane Smith, who was on TV for a long time at Channel 8, I had reached out to her in the summer of 2018 because things had come to an end at the NBC affiliate, and had said, hey, I'm looking for a job. And this was the summer, and she said, well, we don't really have anything available right now. We'll keep you in mind. This was like July. About a month later, month and a half later, it's August, and my wife and I are hosting our families for a cookout. The phone rings. It's a Saturday. And on the other end of the line is Diane. And she says, hey, J.W., we have an opening, to teach one Principles of Communication course, which is a class all the students here take at the University of New Haven. We just opened there are like 35 sections of this class. We just opened this 35th section on a Wednesday night. Are you interested in it? I almost said no, because I didn't feel I would be prepared enough. Like we were 10 days away from the start of the semester.
Put down that spatula.
I said, I'm on the grill,
Flipping burgers.
Flipping burgers, and Diane's on the other line. And I almost said no, and I'm glad I didn't, because as I always teach our students here, if you have the opportunity to say yes, because if you say no, you may never get the opportunity to say yes again. So I started out as an adjunct in the communications side, actually went to school during the pandemic to get my master's degree in sport management, and now teach full-time here on the sport management side. So 6 years overall, finished up my 6th year at UNH, third as a full-time faculty member. And I've been saying this to anyone who'll listen over the last couple of years. I cannot imagine my life without the University of New Haven.
Wow.
This place came along at a perfect time in my life, and it really helped me and my family. So I'm always grateful to the opportunity here. And I'm glad I said yes to Diane.
Yeah, definitely. And, I feel exactly the same way. Chris Dowd, the chairman of our English department, said something really interesting to me when I first joined the university. And he said, Bruce, this is 4,000 or 4,500 undergrads, about the same number of graduate students. It's a great size. Yeah. There's a lot going on. But he said, if you're passionate about something, and in my case it was the radio station, they'll give you autonomy, and you can have your own little piece of the University of New Haven. And I've found that to be true. And over these past 8 years that I've been here, we were kind of going away from being really a student-run radio station, and we've really come way back in that direction. So that's been a real joy for me. And then the other piece, as you've alluded to, it's just working here with this, incredible group of faculty members, and hearing your incredible story. By the way, Bruce Barber does not like to be upstaged by Mr. ESPN.
You hold your own. You did 18 years of live radio where anything can happen, shock jock. I mean, you can easily handle this show, and you've done a phenomenal job. It's been an honor and a privilege to co-host the show with you, and it's hard to believe that 2 seasons have gone by like that.
It's crazy. Yeah.
We started out doing this podcast, and we've told you the story before. It was myself and Dr. Z, who was our athletic director at the time, then interim president. And then obviously once he became interim president, it became a little difficult for him to commit to the show. So the next logical choice was you. And you've slid in here, and it's been like we haven't skipped a beat.
Well, thank you. It's been a joy. I sometimes say, "Ooh, did I say that?" It's like did I tell the dean of students about me in college and having to explain my fraternity brothers throwing a dresser off of a balcony?
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But I think the great thing for me about doing this and just the stories we've been able to tell in this, the end of, is this the end of season 2?
We are recapping season 2 here. Yep.
So we're really, though, representative for people who are checking this out. We're representative of the ethos of the university, and it kind of surrounds us here. But it's in so many cases, people who are working with students have worked in their careers or are working in the careers, and that goes from forensic science to criminal justice to communication. We've got filmmakers here, you know, it's amazing. We've got everything from former Secret Service agents to people who are doing groundbreaking work in DNA research, and so it's really terrific to be part of that. And then the other thing is, these facilities are state of the art. So we're in a television production facility right now that is really the best you're going to find, I think, around.
Yeah. We're housed on the first floor of the Burgamy Center for Science and Technology. The building is about 4 or 5 years old. It was opened during the pandemic, basically. But yeah, what students can do in this space is really very impressive. This, besides us and Paul Falcone and Brian Wells, this is all student-run production. And then, of course, they do other student productions in here. They do films over here. They have a green screen in the corner. A lot of classes are taught in here. You're right, state of the art, and I think that's probably the one thing that students see, especially with accepted students days, or when you're recruiting students, they come in with their family and they're like, wow, this is big time.
This is legit.
It
yeah,
is.
This is, and the other point we should make, and I'm glad you brought this up, and we've got an accepted students day, so we're taping this now, and it's going to be tomorrow. But what I tell parents all the time, I tell families when they're thinking about coming here, especially people on the communication track, but I know this goes across the university. We really work to get the students, let them have their hands on the equipment right away, freshman year. In a lot of programs, film programs, television productions, I know I know for radio, music and sound recording. A lot of times, students won't even touch the equipment until junior year.
Correct.
We make a point of saying, we want you using the equipment freshman year.
The two words, the phrase that we use is experiential education, right? You learn by doing, and we have the small enough student body, and we have the people who were practitioners in their field to be able to do that. You know, not to pick on Syracuse, but that's always the example of you go to a big-time communications school, which is a great history and everything, but to your point, you're not getting on the equipment until you're a junior because there's so many other communication students. And you don't need to be a comm student to be here in the TV studio.
That's right, you know, or have a show on the radio
Right.
station, you know, and I tell students when they come in, and, you know, it's really about getting students to take advantage of all of this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I work for you, these are your toys,
Yep.
now let's do cool stuff,
Yeah.
you know, and it's a joy.
About a minute and a half left. We knew this 15 minutes would go by like that, but I wanted to recap season 2 with you. When we look back at season 2, or when you look back at season 2, what stands out to you?
I mean, just the story of the level of quality of the people here, the family that we're lucky enough to be part of. I mean, the list is incredible.
Yeah. Gabby Garcia Perez, Marcus Harvin, Jan Jones, Patrick Rivers, Tiffany Hesser, Matt Ward, Wayne Edwards, Mario Gabbery, Shaylee Menon, Ophelia Rowe Allen, Joe Franco, and Andy Billman were here together. They're doing that documentary on Toad's Place in New Haven. Can't wait to see how that turns out in a couple of years. Tyler Wells from the baseball team, Cameron DeBose, who played women's basketball here. Joe Markowski was a recent guest, and a big-time star that you've discovered.
Nashville Sound,
on
yep.
the radio, and of course, we talked esports recently, too, with Rob Holub and David Ramirez. We've kind of run the gamut, but we always say that, you know, Charger 360, telling the stories of the University of New Haven, I don't think we'll ever run out of stories because there's so many parts of this campus we haven't even touched upon. Well, we have health services department, and we have engineering, right? There's so many departments and colleges that we haven't really had a chance to tap into yet. And the new president, Jens Fredrickson, I imagine will be on season 3.
I imagine, J.W., is it me or do we sense a cliffhanger?
Dun, dun, dun. Stay tuned, true believers.
Stay tuned.
I think that's a perfect way to wrap up season 2. Bruce, my friend, always a pleasure. Thanks for
J.W., a pleasure.
A terrific 2 seasons, and we look forward to season 3 in September. For Bruce, I'm J.W. Thanks for watching Charger 360. Have a great summer, everybody. We'll see you in the fall.